the heat shield on the Apollo anyway, was made up of 375,000 individual honeycomb cells, about the size of your thumbnail. Each one of those was individually filled by hand, shooting this, what they call an ablative resonance. And as they came down in through the Earth's atmosphere, that stuff just started to char and burn off. The astronauts were sitting there in short sleeve comfort, you know. Things only about 2 inches thick. Amazing part of the overall capsule itself. Let me show you what the capsule looked like once we recovered it. Remember how nice and shiny it was when we were over in Space Hall? Here's what it looked like after it came back down. That's the Columbia before they took it away from us. They've got a mock-up in there in the center seat of it. I mean, it was scorched up big time. Finally, as they come down through, drogue chute pops, pulls out 3 big parachutes. They land in the ocean. They have, by that time, they have really perfected the ability to pinpoint their landings. So there are people just waiting for them to hit the ground, and then pararescue people to come and take them off. By the way, the Apollo 11 guys, they didn't get to go home to Mama and the kids after that. They went into quarantine for 21 days. And they actually have one of the quarantine vehicles. It looks like kind of like a Winnebago. What's the one that's real slick? The Airstream. Looks like an Airstream trailer. We've got one out there. So that's basically how it worked. Okay, so last 2 trick questions. You ready? Here we go. You got to be tough. How many astronauts, how many missions actually went to the moon, landed on the moon, and people got out and walked around? How many?
1. No?
No. 6. Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Which one didn't make it? 13. Okay, what happened with 13? Remember what happened? Huh?
Tom Hanks messed up.
You took my line. You can't do that. They had a blowout. They had a blowout in the service module, and they basically had to use the lunar module as a lifeboat. They referred to it as their lifeboat. And that was going to be my last question. How was Apollo 13 really saved? And the answer is because Tom Hanks was the mission commander on the thing, right? Okay. Questions on the lunar module? Yes.
I just had a question about, I know that I've heard NASA talk about how difficult it is to get past the Van Allen radiation belts.
Mm-hmm.
How back in the 60s, and don't get me wrong, that thing looks slightly rickety, how did that make it past that sea of radiation, as they call it, twice?
The way they did it was through information we learned from Explorer 1, as I mentioned to you. We had an idea where the belts are. The belts are not even in intensity. So as we came out, we would skirt the outsides of it as they went around. Now, I can tell you, as an airline pilot, we played this game with radiation all the time. Part of our flight plans, if the radiation was really bad, they would drop our cruising levels down, so we weren't in that. So it's not as bad as you think, and they were able to maneuver around it. But the problem was, when we initially started, they didn't know physically where they are. And there are actually 2 belts. There's kind of an inner belt, and there's an outer belt. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
You're more than welcome. Other questions? Folks, one last question.
One more. This doesn't necessarily have to do with the craft itself, but maybe you don't know this, but how exactly does propulsion work in a vacuum? You know, you kind of need something to push off of for that opposite reaction. How does like a combustion and propulsion work in a vacuum of nothingness, essentially?
My understanding is it does not take much at all. Go ahead. You have the answer.
Been building solid rockets for a long time.
Oh, there we go. He's got somebody who can tell me.
The cone down there.
Yeah.
As the gases flow out.
Do you mind if I record?
That's what they push it. No.
Okay, that'd be great for this video I'm doing.
As long as the gas comes out that cone, and as it does, it expands because it's been. If you look inside the cone, there's a very small area of diameter. So when the gas flows through there, it accelerates. And that acceleration, then as it expands, is what pushes on the cone.
Interesting. Thank you for answering that for me. Yeah.
Don't forget that one. Okay, folks. We started with the Wright brothers, December 17th, 1903. We ended here with the lunar module, July 1969. 66 years from the first heavier-than-air flight until we put a man on the moon. Truly, I think one of the greatest stories almost ever told, actually ever told. That's all I got for you, folks. Thank you very much for your time on Moon Dust and Moon Rocks. They had to do that. Scientists said you can't come home if you don't bring gifts back. So they come back in, they undock, they undock presents. And now they're on their way home. So on the way home, what do you have left of the original module? The man module, service module. As we start entering the Earth, getting close to entering the Earth's atmosphere, we get rid of the service module and we turn the command module around so it's coming in on the side first. And I want to show you what that is. Yeah. Another part. That's what the Apollo capsules look like as they came back into the Earth's atmosphere. Development about 5,000